Vote now for your top 11 players of the week, or top players of week 11. Air player, Justin Herbert, because I need Keith to be wrong. And ground player, Nick Chubb, even though he didn't win the game like Derrick Henry. I mean, they won in the game, but Derrick Henry's a mean person.
Derrick Henry didn't plant nobody like a tulip while winning the game.
Not this week.
Not this week, no.
If highlight clips have taught me anything, it's that sports shows will still find a way to make Buffalo the fucking victim whenever they can. It's like, oh, you're 7-3. Here's Josh Norman and the Hail Murray. So enjoy those highlights for the rest of the fucking season. Bunch of assholes. Listen, we're winning. We're doing productive things, and this is what you have to shove back in our faces. I won't stand for it. I will sit for it for about 3.5 to 4 hours every Sunday, and like 2 hours on a Thursday, and about the same on a Monday. But I won't stand for it. Hey everybody, it's Tuesday, November the 23rd, 2020, and this is the Fourth and Wrong Podcast. I'm your host, RJ, and joining me as always is Keith. Say hi, Keith.
Hi, Keith. I think that's the first time that I've, bullied you into the intro where you didn't either fuck it up or felt like you needed to restart.
Hey, shut up, they don't know that. It's also, I realized recently, the last couple of weeks, kind of low energy on the intros. Just been very, hey everybody, it's Tuesday, November the Gotta really bring it. Bring it. FedEx is here, isn't it?
No, that's... Hold on.
False start.
Yeah, this is a long text. Give me 1 second. It's horrible timing.
Flag on the play. What?
I'm back.
Okay. Should we take that from the top, or?
Nah, no, leave it in.
All right.
It's fine.
Editing! Yeah. Except I can't have this face and go, editing, because this doesn't look good.
What about this face? Editing! See, now it all has to stay in, because that's quality content.
Great. Can't wait. So football happened.
Football happened, not for you, though.
As we like to say, football happened.
Mm-hmm. That's, fourthandmerch.com, football happened.
Football happened. Fourthandmerch.com, psycho stick. I want those merch deals. I just want to sell other people's merch through our store.
We'll become like the new Teespring.
Yeah.
But it's tangentially related to a sports podcast.
We're just T-Mart,
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
So yes, football happened. Your football happened.
My football happened. Your football didn't. So we'll talk about my football.
Let's talk about how your team's got the same record as my team.
Bro, my team's got the same record as your team. And the Cleveland Browns, for the first time since 1994,
are in second place.
Currently in second place, which hasn't happened since ever. The last time we've had this good of a start was when Bill Belichick was our coach. This is the first time we've beat the Eagles since '94. This is the first time we've had...
I'm going to make one slight adjustment that's going to make the beginning of this a little annoying. Go on. Definitely not fucking up my own audio or anything.
No. This is the first time we've been this deep in playoff contention since 2008. This is the first time that I'm at a first, actually.
How does it feel to be in contention while other teams are already falling out of contention?
It is honestly really weird.
And you're not in that bottom right hand of the graphic that just says in the hunt.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because last year we technically weren't mathematically eliminated until like fairly like deeper in the season.
Right.
So it's weird for us to be like, oh, we're still in contention, actually in contention, instead of it being like week 6. Well, we haven't been mathematically eliminated yet, so I guess we're in contention.
And then all of the AFC got good.
Yeah. So
Miami did you a favor this week.
Miami did me a solid. We're going to talk about that game. The Titans did me a solid. We're going to talk about that game.
For the one Bills note, Ryan Fitzpatrick winning games for his favorite football town. I appreciate it. Helping us secure the division.
Yep.
It's like Buffalo, number 1 in my heart, number 1 in the playbook. All right, let's turn this over in the end zone. But we'll talk more about that game later.
We're going to talk about that game. We got a full docket today because I watched a lot of football. I watched more football than I thought I did. But we're going to start with the Cleveland Browns. This is week 3, or third week in a row, rather.
Hey, everybody, it's October the 2nd.
Whoops. It's the third week in a row at home in First Energy Stadium. Also third week in a row where the weather has been awful.
Yeah.
Not nearly as windy as the last 2 games, but it was pissing the entire fucking game.
Not Baker cracking a smile on the sideline beforehand bad, which you finally saw.
Yeah, not quite that bad, but bad enough to where it's another one of those games where I felt like the offensive production as far as the passing game was muted for most of the game. But that's okay, because this is week 2 with Nick Chubb back from injury, and it shows having Nick Chubb back on the field. So a couple of key points from the game. Some takeaways for me. The Browns obviously won 22-17.
Uh-huh.
They're makes us
not a 6-point team.
Not a 6-point team. They're 7-3, 5-1 at home, so we're still doing a good job protecting the dog pound. The Eagles did I'm going to have to say it, they did a remarkable job containing Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt in the first half of that football game. Mm-hmm. It was very hard to watch football until halftime.
Which is funny, because that's about as far as I made it, was about halftime. And I was like, oh!
Yeah, you missed everything else.
I missed the good part of the game.
Yep. So the only score of both teams in the first half was a pick 6.
Which I saw, yeah.
Sione Takitaki got his first impact play of his young NFL career.
Spicy boy,
when Denzel Ward came off the edge as a free runner and smacked Carson Wentz in the back as he was throwing, and it lollipopped. Yeah, it lollipopped right into Takitaki's hands, and he just marched it down the field for a touchdown, and that was the only score of the entire first half. It was, on the Eagles side, it was turnover, punt.
On the Eagles side, it was business as usual.
Yeah, business as usual at this point. On the Browns side, we had an ugly turnover that stymied a drive. Mm-hmm. But it was pretty unremarkable football for the second half, or for the first half. But then the second half happened, and Nick Chubb went, "Wait, I'm great." And then he went off for 114 yards.
Maybe you've heard of me, Joe Mixon. Who? Yeah,
exactly. Kareem Hunt's stat line, I don't think gives him any justice, because he was actually negative in rushing yards for most of the game.
It seemed like they were just using him as an end zone battering ram, and it kind of wasn't working.
Yeah, there's the one scoring drive and the turnover in the first half that I was referring to was a turnover on downs on the 1. Mm-hmm.
You're fourth and 1 at the goal line.
4th and goal on the 1 yard line, and they hand it off to Kareem Hunt, and he tries to vault over the line, which works. Kareem Hunt's done it before. It works. And then
he should have done it from the half-yard line, not the 1.5 yard line. Yeah. I think was his only problem.
Yeah, the Eagles stacked it up well, and they stopped him. And then there was a play where Baker technically was throwing like a swing route to Kareem Hunt, but the pass was technically behind Baker, so it was considered a handoff on the stat sheet. So it was considered a fumble when he dropped it.
Mm-hmm.
So when he recovered it, Kareem Hunt had negative rushing yards. But when Kareem Hunt needed to perform, off the back of a 54-yard gallop from Nick Chubb, when he planted an Eagles defender into the ground like a daisy, Kareem Hunt was able to hurdle his way into the end zone on a pretty remarkable rushing attempt in order to get a score in the second half. But besides that, a lot of field goals. Which,
yeah.
I mean, and then this thing right here. Big old Crimetry. Olivier Vernon met Carson Wentz in the end zone.
Because Carson Wentz
Carson Wentz has just had this really bad habit over the past year of he really wants to hold on to that football.
He's doing that Josh Allen hero ball bullshit.
Yeah, and his offensive line is not doing him any favors. And remember, I texted you when you texted me and I assume the text was using sarcasm when you're like, "Oh, Myles, what are you gonna do with Myles Garrett out?"
Yeah, that was
and
it.
I was just
100% dripping with sarcasm of, "Oh no, what are you ever gonna do with Myles Garrett out against the Eagles?"
And I was like, I'm pretty sure the Eagles' offensive line will figure it out for us.
And they sure did.
They did. We had 19 QB pressures, 11 QB hits, and 5 sacks.
Absurd.
Olivier Vernon reminded people that even though he's not prime Olivier, he's still Olivier. And then the rest of the defensive line, the rotational players got involved.
Yeah.
Olivier Vernon alone got 3. And it was funny because as the announcers were saying, the announcers were pretty much like, oh, after it was like the 4th or 5th sack of the game, the announcers were like, I bet you Myles Garrett is so happy right now watching his dogs eat and blah, 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 blah.
No, Myles Garrett wants like 6 of those. Like, what?
Yeah, and the other announcer was like, I bet you Myles Garrett wants some of those. And then right after that, Myles Garrett tweeted pretty much saying, I'm crying because I'm so proud of my boys, but I'm trying to eat too. It was an ugly game. There's nothing to say there's nothing overtly impressive on either side of the ball. Baker Mayfield had another down game in another weather game. These 3 games in a row I'm kind of putting into their own little category for the year because playing in Cleveland's hard whenever the weather does not want to cooperate.
His average for his completions was pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, his average was good.
His completion percentage was not.
Completion percentage was not, and only some of that had to do with drops, but there really wasn't a lot of drops in this game. It was a lot of him getting out of the pocket and just chucking it, just throwing it out. There's plenty of times where he just put some bad balls out there, but
that early pass to Austin Hooper that just sailed on him was like, oh my God, I maybe could have made that pass with how open Austin Hooper was.
Right. Well, and the one right before that where he underthrew Harrison Bryant. Mm-hmm. Like it was like back-to-back plays to the tight end that should have went to the corner of the end zone where they were like Austin Hooper was wide the fuck open. He was naked.
Yeah.
But Harrison Bryant he had his man beat. You just had to hit him in the corner of the end zone. He underthrew that one and sailed the next one. It's so there are some consistency issues that we're constantly talking about with Baker Mayfield, but ultimately he didn't lose us the game.
Does Baker Mayfield have small hands in a place where you can't have small hands?
He has average size hands for a quarterback his size.
Okay. Well, for a quarterback his size, which is 6'1", which is not super high on the stature list.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean,
I don't know. His hand's still probably bigger than mine. I got Trump hands.
Yeah, my hands are average, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, cancer.
Yep. So we really
only 90s kids will get that joke.
Only 90s kids. We leaned on the defense a lot, and the defense to an admittedly weak offense, but they played. They came to ball. I think the Eagles were 2-12 for 3rd down conversions or something like that.
Yuck.
Yeah, after coming off of their game in New York, playing the Giants, where they were 0 for 9 on 3rd down conversions. So we're starting to see a trend with the Eagles when it comes to their inability to convert and some really alarming issues with Carson Wentz that we've been talking about for most of the year. Mm. It was a mostly satisfying win because by the time...
Oh, man. Wentz back in that, too. Did he have 2 fumbles? Is he back in the 4 turnover club?
He had 1 fumble.
Almost made it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I want to call that fumble. The Wentz Award at this point. Not an award you want.
And...
Okay. Talk to me about Cardero Hodge. Who the fuck is that?
Cardero Hodge? Cardero Hodge is one of the cats that we called up when Odell got hurt.
Ah, okay.
He has been on the roster, if I'm not mistaken. Let me check my my numers just to make sure I'm not mistaken. Yeah, we claimed him off of waivers in 2019, and he was mostly a special teams guy.
Uh-huh.
And then he was put on he was put on injury reserve at the beginning of the season. We activated him in October, and then he's been on between the practice squad and the main roster ever since, depending on injuries. He was having fun out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he was your leading receiver and a name that I don't recognize, which is why I was asking about him. Yeah.
Yeah, we needed somebody to step up in the passing game, and both him and Rashad Higgins did. I love me going some Hollywood right in the middle of the game.
Jarvis Landry with a super quiet game.
Quiet on the stat sheet. Jarvis Landry's impact in this specific offense
is by hitting defenders in the back. Like
definitely
he's known to
do. Definitely shows up more in the running game whenever he's having a down. Having a down receiving game. Either because he's being quiet, he's being shut down. Because, I mean, you got to think about looking at the talent that we have in our receiving core right now, specifically because Odell's injured. Who's the next guy you're doubling?
Oh,
it's going to be Jarvis Landry.
Some would argue earlier in the season the person that you double first is Jarvis Landry.
Some would argue that. So it's allowing other receivers to get open. And then you start having people like Cardero Hodge and Rashad Higgins who are known to play 3rd or 4th, sometimes 5th in the depth chart. And go out and put up, 60, 70 yards per game. The other part where Jarvis Landry really impacts is in the running game because you're gonna march him out in your number 1, even if you're playing a 2 or 3 tight end set. You're gonna have one receiver that's kicked out wide, unless you're just doing a huge super package for running. For the rush, and Jarvis Landry is one of the most aggressive blockers when it comes to, being a wide receiver, even outside of some of the stuff that he's known for that is a little more nefarious that he can't do anymore. He's still just of wide receivers his size. He's just a solid blocker up front.
Yeah.
So his impact can still be felt when he's on the field. A quiet game from Jarvis Landry, and I don't like seeing Jarvis Landry have quiet games because I like Jarvis, but. Overall, as long as it's one of those things where, so this is something that Baltimore is kind of struggling with, and we'll kind of get to that whenever we talk about Baltimore. But it's something that Baltimore is kind of struggling with is we've established the identity at the beginning of the season. Every single time we've let a team push us away from that identity, it's not worked out in our favor. You can chalk up 2 of those losses to the fact that we're playing without Nick Chubb, and then the teams that we were playing take away Kareem Hunt, and now we got to rely on the passing game. And the passing game with Baker Mayfield and this core group of talent is just not developed.
Please excuse the airplane if it shows up on audio.
Okay. The big thing is with this offensive arrangement in Cleveland is you have to establish dominance at the line so you can get the running game going. And once we start getting the running game going, it opens up the passing game a little bit because it allows us to use Baker Mayfield where he's used the best, which is on the play action and on the bootleg. And once you've established the run, then the play action and the bootleg open up, and so does the passing game.
If only we could teach Nick Chubb how to throw passes. He'd be the perfect Wildcat quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Teach him how to throw, teach him how to play safety.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You were like, fucking just put him out on the field. I don't care. He's an athlete.
Yeah. Yep. He'll figure it out. He'll hit somebody on that strong side.
I was going to say, I think we both agreed he'd end up on the strong safety side of things.
Just fucking cracking people.
Yeah.
Anything to get Sendeo's bum ass off the field.
All right. Those were gonna be my two questions. Is one, where's Sendeo watch at?
Bum.
Okay. I mean, but he didn't actively fuck anything up this game, right?
He certainly didn't help.
Well,
Apparently,
he's helped more than being an active detriment.
Look, you gotta do something to get off the bum list. Okay,
right,
you're the originator of the bum list.
I am the originator of the bum list. It's true. And also, what's up with David Njoku? Or is he just hanging out until his contract runs out at this point?
Dude, I don't know, man. Especially with Harrison Bryant, really, because we talked during the preseason. About how impressed I was in training camp with Harrison Bryant, and it's starting to reflect on the field with how much trust Stefanski's giving Harrison Bryant in that offense. Because every time we're wheeling out 2 tight end sets, it's Austin Hooper and Harrison Bryant.
Mm-hmm.
And Njoku's kind of... I don't necessarily say Njoku's being forgotten, especially right now with Odell being injured, because David Njoku is a freak athlete. He just has bricks for hands.
Right.
But he wants to play.
Uh-huh.
And I...
Tell him to put on 80 pounds and play line.
Yeah. I don't think that's going to happen. As much as I wouldn't mind it.
The Jordan Love angle. Have him put on 100 pounds and play D-tackle. Let's go.
Right. As much as I like David Njoku, he was one of the guys that I was excited about when we originally drafted him. It's just one of those things where I think right now he still has a place on the team. It's all about whether or not he wants to know his role and do his job.
I'm this much afraid that Dawson Knox is gonna fall into the David Njoku bucket,
where he's a blocking tight end.
Where it's
on jumbo sets, and that's pretty much it.
Or just your hands aren't reliable enough. I mean, he came out of that Ole Miss offense with Hollywood and fucking DK, and it was him at tight end, which is why he had like 5 receptions over 3 years or something like that. But I don't know. So, I like Dawson Knox. I hope he turns out. But we're not talking about the Bills this week.
Yeah, not talking about the Bills.
Just this thing. Just this precious baby right here.
What is that? Is that a buffalo?
It's a baby buffalo.
It's a baby buffalo. Gotcha.
It's my cute animal week.
Yeah, it is. It is. So, overall, I am satisfied, especially with it was 22-10. There's like a minute or so left on the clock. We went into the prevent to just push everything out to the sideline, or push everything into the middle of the field, which allowed the Eagles to get momentum in garbage time and put up another score, which brought it within 5. And the way the new kickoff rules are, onside kick recoveries are pretty much impossible. Yeah. So I wasn't sweating it. So the score reflects a closer game than it really was. There was at no point in time where Cleveland's defense yielded. Literally, they got a field goal where they genuinely drove for a portion of the field, and the only other score was a touchdown pass from Carson Wentz off of a turnover in our own side of the field, where Baker Mayfield got strip sacked, and they recovered the ball on like the 20-yard line, and then they flipped it out to their tight end real quick. So they didn't have to work for it. We kind of gifted them 7 points, and then for the rest of that period again, in the fourth period or the fourth quarter, they scored that one field goal and then went mostly silent again until that last minute or so. It was defensive dominance on Cleveland's part that progressed into the second half of the field. The one thing I will say about the Eagles, though, is they went away from their running game, which was stupid. Mm-hmm. They got behind, and then Doug Peterson got scared, so he started throwing the ball.
I was going to say, they got that squirrely little running back that kind of is like Darren Sproles-esque.
Mm-hmm. Because
Boston Scott? Is that his name?
Miles Sanders.
Who am I thinking? All right, never mind.
Yeah. At least Miles Sanders was the feature back that they were using yesterday. But
okay, yeah, Boston Scott is on that team. He is the guy that I'm thinking of, but he's not the guy who was driving it yesterday.
Correct. So
Boston Scott had a better average.
He did. But Miles, we weren't doing anything to stop Miles Sanders. We just weren't.
Was he getting you on the outside? Was he getting you up the middle? Was he getting you just kind of where he wanted?
Almost kind of where he wanted. The Eagles did a really good job at establishing the offensive line, establishing themselves in the offensive line up front first, but only in the rushing game, because you still had cats out there like Jason Kelsey, who just alone can eat up. They can eat up defenders and open up gaps. So the rest of the offensive line is kind of mute as long as you get the ball off quick. Miles Sanders is a shifty dude. He was able to cut into some pockets and crank out, about 5 yards a carry, and we didn't really have an answer for him because if we cheated up too much, we were worried about the passing game. I guess I don't really know what the thought process was from Cleveland when it came to really committing to stopping the run, because the Eagles in their first 2 drives only had 1 passing attempt. They were committed to rushing. They were committed to pounding the rock, which was obviously the right choice given the weather conditions and how our defense was playing. And then it just looked like after that, especially after that pick six in the second quarter, they abandoned the running game because Doug Peterson, it looked to me, Doug Peterson was afraid the game was going to go away from him. But relying on Carson Wentz's arm and his decision-making with the way he's playing right now in order to keep yourself in the game just seemed like a fool's errand to me.
Yeah.
In reality, if they kept playing, if their rushing game kept playing as well as it did in the first half, that game actually would have been close. But the running game went silent, and they started really trying to utilize Carson Wentz. And Carson Wentz made some decent throws, and Dallas Goedert, Jalen Yeager had a decent game. They were getting open in the zone. We have issues with our secondary right now. But they just got away from what was successful and what was actually being productive. Exactly. I think that pick six from Carson Wentz spooked them, and then we got a couple of stops in the second half that really kind of, for a brief moment, stymied the rushing game. So I just think the play callers got scared, especially once the defensive line started getting really downhill and really, really getting into the backfield. There was not a play where Carson Wentz took a snap where he was in a pocket where that was a clean pocket. Yeah. And I don't know if it's a mixture of like just a weak offensive line, which it is. They're dealing with some injuries on the offensive line, but also like the media getting in Carson Wentz's head, or like teams, the team scheme getting in Carson Wentz's head. Doug Peterson has lacked creativity as a play caller for the past year, almost 2 years, I would argue. He's lacked that creativity that we've known from him when Philly went to the Super Bowl. Right. Even that creativity wasn't his. He had to get asked if he wanted to call that play. So sure. Yeah. So it's one of those things where I have to wind back. I have to wind back a previous take of mine. We'll close out this game real quick. We got the win in ugly conditions. These last 3 games has showed to me that Cleveland is also capable of winning when there's adversity, not when everything goes right, but when everything is going wrong. Either it being the weather or the passing game or injuries, we still have the capabilities to win tough football games. But my other takeaway that I have from this game, just kind of wrapping up here, is I have to wind back a previous take I had where it was that I felt the Eagles were going to win their division with a losing record. I don't think that's going to happen anymore.
It's all Dallas now, baby.
Yeah, I genuinely believe it's Dallas. Dallas officially has the easiest schedule left in the NFC East. So it's either going to be Dallas or New York. The Giants might surprise us. But
we're going to see a 90s rematch. It's going to be Dallas and Buffalo in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. But watching a full Eagles game, let's not see that in the Super Bowl, please.
At least not the Dallas part.
Not the Dallas part. Watching a full Eagles game from front to back. Everything I said about the Eagles so far about them being trash is true, but they're not going to win their division.
Okay. All right. Hammer that one.
Mm-hmm. So I do want to talk about the Bills briefly.
Okay. Well, I was going to say, yeah, what are we moving on to next now that the Browns segment is almost as long as our entire last podcast?
We were bullshitting for a while. I want to talk about the Bills briefly because the Bills Didn't lose a football game.
No, we actually we got better in our division without playing.
Exactly. Everybody else in their division lost, so they still won.
Literally everybody.
So the Jets lost, the Patriots lost, and the Dolphins lost.
Y'all suck.
So congrats to the Bills.
Just bring Tua to us. I want that smoke.
Yeah.
I want to see him go. I want to see him throw 2 picks to Tre'Davious White, and at least 1 to either Jordan Poyer or Micah Hyde. And then Matt Milano will make his grand return and fucking snag one also and get a sack. That's what I'm saying. 4 picks and a sack by Matt Milano when we play Tua.
Right. Speaking of Tua, and the Dolphins losing, Tua got pulled.
There goes that win streak.
Yeah, there goes that win streak. Tua got pulled for performance. You know, the coach was very honest to the media after the game. They pulled Tua because of his performance.
It was the opposite of having a 4-hour hard-on. He underperformed.
Just a bit. And then Fitzmagic did his thing for a little bit, and then Fitztragic did his thing one good time.
Oh, God, I was like... I had the weirdest sensation watching that game.
Uh-huh.
I was rooting for the Dolphins. And I wasn't... That I mean,
weird,
that's a lie. That's a blatant and obvious lie.
You were rooting for Fitzpatrick.
I was rooting for Ryan Fitzpatrick because I was like, fucking, you go get him, guy.
Yeah.
Like... They pulled you and put this young buck in, and you're starting at the 2, and you're down a touchdown, and they need you to drive this whole field, and you're gonna fucking do it. And guess what? He drove that field to the 1.
Mm-hmm. And then what did he do?
And then he drove a pick right into the end zone.
Oh yeah.
I was like, and that's the quarterback I know. It's him, it's Nick Foles, and it's got to be one other for the rule of 3s. But those like 5 to 7 game quarterbacks where it's like, who's the third one?
Right,
Gardner Minshew. It's Gardner Minshew, Ryan Fitzpatrick, and Nick Foles.
I think that's fair. How quickly had we have? I feel like this is the quickest we've ever seen the Fitzmagic to Fitztragic transition.
One drive.
Blink of an eye. One drive. He was fucking marching. It was everything that fucking Denver could do to stop him, and then I fucking forgot that Miami wasn't wearing orange that week.
It's like, am I playing for you guys now?
I'm confused. Have I played for Denver yet? I must be playing for Denver now. By now, right?
Shit, wrong orange.
Damn.
I mean, is there anything else you wanted to talk about this game with Tua and that, or are we just pointing out the fact that your favorite pick is wrong?
No, I mean, I want to go that far.
I mean, we're going to talk about the Chargers next, so you can talk about it now, or you can talk about it in a minute. I don't know. I think it's actually kind of smart. I think in this day and age of putting quarterbacks out there, like young, rookie, high drafted quarterbacks out there,
don't murder their confidence with a loss.
Don't
make it somebody else's problem.
Or just like, hey, like you don't have it like this exact week right now. Let's see if we can salvage this. Like, watch the guy, who was in front of you, see if you can pick anything up. Because, I mean, again, Fitzpatrick literally did everything but get him into overtime. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll tend to agree with that.
Especially with, like, again, like, I think it's Devontae Parker's, like, the only real wide receiver of note that they're working with. So,
they're very much...
The Dolphins are kind of doing a lot with not a lot, and it pains me to say that.
Well, it was that same thing where last year when we were watching the Dolphins quote unquote tank for Tua, and they still got him. But then they started like winning games on accident. It was like the amount that coaching staff has been able to do with what they have it's genuinely impressive. And that's why you got to keep his job.
It's legitimately funny.
What's that?
Fitzpatrick and Tua have almost identical stats.
Yeah.
They both threw for right around 100 yards. It's just Tua had a touchdown and Fitzpatrick had a pick.
And Fitzmagic did it in one drive.
Is this another? Wow, this is another game like when Tua first came in, where like Miami just didn't have the ball. This is very much like his first game, except they didn't win it. Where it's just like they didn't have the ball, they didn't have to have the ball. They put up a few points and they almost won.
Yeah.
It was just the Rams didn't spot them 14, or I guess in this case the Broncos didn't spot them 14 going into it with pick sixes and shit. But yeah, I don't have a lot of takes on the Miami game. I rewatched it and I caught the end of it, and I thought they were going to at least push it into overtime, and I think that would have been interesting, and I would have been happy for Fitzmagic. Let's be real here. I would not have been happy for Miami. But yeah. So the Bills get one game further ahead in the division.
Hey,
Go
one thing
us.
you can be happy about though.
Is that the Chargers also beat the Jets.
Justin Herbert is really, really trying to make me eat some crow.
Air Bear.
Goofy fucking haircut aside,
Goofy haircut and all.
the guy is fucking balling out.
Yeah.
And
Jesus, they had him throwing that ball.
yeah, and the Chargers almost lost this game in a very Chargers fashion. Up by multiple points and just let the other team crawl back into it.
I was gonna say, yeah, this looks like the Jets and footsteps Flacco. Tried to crawl back in it.
Yeah, Flacco's first pass of the game, pick six. It was pretty sick.
Justin Herbert is putting up like early season Josh Allen numbers.
Yeah, Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow, who we'll also talk about later, are literally up until Sunday. We're literally neck and neck for Rookie of the Year with the kind of numbers they're putting up.
Still should be Mapletron.
I don't disagree with you.
I saw a take earlier that was interesting. That was like, if Claypool was on any other team right now that wasn't 10-0, he'd easily be Rookie of the Year.
He'd also easily be the number one receiver.
Yeah, on most teams at this point.
I wouldn't mind him.
Yeah, but Jets Chargers. The Jets continue to suck. They're officially the first team out of playoff contention.
Officially. Mathematically disqualified.
Yeah.
They're also the first team to break double-digit losses this season. With 0-10.
Did they make it to 10? Okay.
0-10.
Yep, they sure are. I keep getting confused because this week threw me off. I was like, how's everybody at 10 games? That doesn't make any sense. It's like, week 11! Oh.
Yeah. You haven't had your bye yet.
Yeah, we've got a super late bye for once. I feel like the Bills always have like a week 6 bye or something like that. Like we always have something super early. So to get it at this point is interesting timing.
Sure.
But Justin Herbert balled out. Keenan Allen doing fucking Keenan Allen things. Like acting like he's Michael Thomas or something.
Weird.
And yeah, the Jets are bad. The Jets are a bad team.
Jets are real bad.
Hopefully they're not the next team to draft a quarterback at number 1 overall and then have them tear their ACL and MCL.
That'd be tragic.
That would be tragic. Who could that have happened to?
Keep listening to the show and find out.
Yeah. Now.
We still got more games to talk about. News comes later.
I was going to jump over to their game. All right, fine. There goes my great transition.
I mean, okay.
There goes my average transition.
I mean, we can talk about this game that literally no one cares about.
I mean, yeah, it's really only for...
The only news that came out of that game is that Joe Burrow is out for the rest of the season with an ACL and NCL injury.
Honestly, probably out for part of next season, too, at this rate.
Probably, with how late it is already.
So who do you think's had the more devastating injury at this point between him and Tua? I mean, Tua's clearly back in the NFL and is playing games, and an ACL, MCL is, like, recoverable at this point.
I think Tua only because of how much it hurt his draft stock.
Okay.
Joe Burrow are
4 spots.
Yeah, well, hey, that's a lot of money, dude. The difference between first and fourth is millions of dollars.
Sure, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not the difference from like when Matt Stafford went number 1 overall and he got like 60 mil coming out the gates. But
Oh, sure. Yeah, CPA has changed since then.
yeah,
But Joe Burrow, he's already on his. He drafted number 1 overall. Already got his number 1 overall money. It sucks because it's not necessarily devastating for Joe Burrow. The technology is in place for him to recover just fine.
Adrian Peterson has proved that you can come back from it.
Yep. It's more of how much it affects, how tragic it is for Cincinnati, because Joe Burrow is literally the only thing that they have going for them.
They used to have Andy Dalton.
But what did I say at the beginning of the season after the first couple of games where Joe Burrow was the starter? That offensive line is going to get that man killed.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what?
He did.
So, as per usual on the Fourth and Wrong podcast, T's and P's to Joe Burrow. We don't like seeing good players get hurt. I hope he makes a full recovery so we can have some more Ohio showdowns, because Baker Mayfield evidently plays his best whenever he's playing Joe Burrow. So...
Yeah, and obviously you don't. I mean, he was supposed to be another one of the shining spots of the up-and-coming players in the league, and it's like, the league is best when you have good quarterback play. Like, if we learned anything from the XFL and the AAF, the game is better when you have a good quarterback. And so, while I want everybody else's quarterback to be slightly less good than my quarterback, I don't want him to die.
Yeah, you don't want him to die.
Like, Tua plays for the Dolphins, and even at this point, I'm like, my hate for the Dolphins is, like, older than you are, so...
If anything gives you an idea of, like, the optic, like, gives you a decent optic of, like, the kind of offense that Joe Burrow's having to play within and how productive he's been able to do, or been able to be, Ryan Finley, his replacement, who the fuck is that guy?
I feel literally like I vaguely recognize the name.
Yeah, literally got sacked 4 times. Like Joe Burrow actually avoided being sacked that entire game. Miraculously.
Nope, I lied. Ryan Finley's 25 years old. I've never heard of this motherfucker in my life.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, he played at State. Okay. Maybe I heard his name the last year or so.
Like NC State?
Like NC State.
Hey, no wonder he's bad.
Yeah, tell that to Philly Rivs.
NC State used to be good, okay? They're not now. It's like, hey, Mitch Trubisky, UNCW, or from UNC. Bad quarterback, bad football team.
It would make more sense if he was from UNCW.
Undefeated.
Yeah. Can't lose.
Can't lose if you don't have a football team.
Can't miss Mitch.
Yep. But speaking of good quarterback play...
Yeah, let's talk about some other... Yeah, I'm going to let you drive at this point.
And the XFL, since you brought it up, PJ Walker had his first start this week.
He sure did. This was a good... Listen, if this was your first start in the NFL, this was a good week for you.
Yeah.
Which is why Tua should have waited. No.
I mean, PJ Walker's been on a roster just as long as Tua has.
But he didn't start.
But he started this week.
Right. Which is why I said this week was a good week to start your first football game.
Yes.
Because also another guy we're going to talk about later on.
Yes.
Okay.
He's on my list. PJ looked good. He had some decent touch on some deep passes. He was very mobile. He was moving the pocket around. He also had some atrocious reads in the red zone.
Boy looked like he could still spin some of those. Sometimes it's to the wrong color jersey.
Sometimes. But if anything, this game proved, on top of the defensive play that the Panthers were able to formulate for this game in particular, considering they completely shut out Detroit, PJ Walker proved that he deserves to be in the NFL. Unequively.
I think that's pretty fair.
Yep. Whether or not he deserves
maybe in Cincinnati.
Yeah. Whether or not he deserves to be starting in the NFL, let's see how he develops.
I take that back. PJ Walker does not deserve to be in Cincinnati.
No one deserves to be in Cincinnati. Literally no one. No one deserves.
I gave up on the Cincinnati joke because they're doing it for me.
Yeah. The whole team's a joke. So that was exciting. you poked around on some of the highlights, and I think both of us kind of agreed that he looked
serviceable.
He looked like somebody making his first start in the NFL.
He looked like a quarterback who helped provide the second shutout all year. Mm-hmm. So,
Yeah, and it was...
Not that he played defense, obviously, but,
Sure.
He put the points on the board that the other guys didn't.
Yeah, he contributed.
Yeah.
But...
Even Matt Prater couldn't save him after that 59-yard bomb the week before.
No. But another quarterback that we both have on our radars made his first start this week.
Okay, quick Panthers segment. All right, moving on.
Well, I mean, we don't need to talk about every team for 20 minutes.
Let's break everything down.
Yeah. Taysom Hill. First start over Jameis Winston. Over 2020 LASIK eyeball fixed Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
Thoughts? Did you watch this game at all?
I was watching the beginning of it, and I made it through the first quarter into the second, and then I lost track of it, and then I watched the highlights this afternoon. Gotcha. Basically, it's kind of what you were saying, in our side conversations outside the podcast, also known as our conversations. That
this is not the only time we talk to each other.
No. That Taysom is, I wasn't hating on him. He just wasn't showing me anything. And then I saw some of the highlights afterwards, and it was like, some of these throws are dimes, and others, like, I need $1 back because you shorted me by about 15 or 20 yards, and that dude had to come back for it. But,
Mm-hmm. So I actually have specific notes.
All right.
From watching Taysom Hill.
Are they like are they oaky notes? Are they pine tar, perhaps?
Some could say that.
Oh, you got baseball stats?
No, some of my observations with Taysom Hill was what we talked about before the game started was Sean Payton is a tremendous play caller and a tremendous offensive schemer.
Uh-huh.
He'll find a way to make it work. And largely, he did. Some notes that I had on Taysom Hill is he'll never be a true pocket guy. But his arm was largely as advertised with a very limited sample size, because all we have is the few throws he's made in regular season on gadget plays, and then the time when he was with Green Bay, when he originally got signed to Green Bay as an undrafted free agent. Mm-hmm. He played in some preseason games. But going back to what he did in college and what we saw yesterday, his arm was largely as advertised. Not a lot of touch on the deep ball, but he can move the pocket. And then the moment at halftime, we saw a paradigm shift from the Saints.
Mm-hmm.
The moment at halftime, the play calling started favoring his athleticism and not his ability to throw. All bets were off. There was nothing the Falcons were going to be able to do to crawl back into that one.
Right.
Taysom Hill, had his 2 rushing touchdowns. Kamara had a third.
I feel
some of those. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, you wrap up your thought and then I'll go.
Yeah, some of the throws looked really impressive when the times that he did stand in the pocket and deliver some strikes. He had a lot of poise. Mm-hmm. I still think he needs to work on sensing pressure,
mm-hmm.
which is fine. It's his first full-time start as a quarterback.
Right.
He's at the quarterback position. You could largely call him a rookie because he hasn't played quarterback since 2017 or whenever he was originally signed into the league.
Yeah.
So as just quarterback, he's literally on the roster as a quarterback who never plays quarterback.
Yep, pretty much.
But just based off of his athleticism alone and the sample size that we have when it comes to his arm talent, Sean Payton can make something out of this, just like he did with Teddy Bridgewater. And I very much I equated it to 2018 when Joe Flacco got benched for Lamar Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't see Lamar Jackson throw a lot, not any impressive throws anyways, like he did last year.
Right.
The passing game was very limited, and they leaned into Lamar Jackson's athleticism, and they won football games. They ended up closing the season out at 10-6, coming off of a horrendous start because Joe Flacco's career is kind of like at this point, because Harbaugh is also a really good offensive schemer and offensive play caller. So there's no doubt in my mind that Sean Payton can't make something out of this, at least until Drew Brees is healthy. And it puts a lot of stock in handing the keys over to Taysom Hill as a long-term solution whenever Drew Brees decides to finally hang it up.
Yep. My whole thing on it is my whole thing on Taysom Hill is I feel I'm either a crazy person or a savant, and sometimes those things are indistinguishable. But it's just like, does nobody remember who Tim Tebow was? Have we all forgotten? Everybody's like Taysom Hill. We've never seen anything like this before. It's like, kind of though. The guy who should maybe be playing linebacker, who's throwing passes. Yeah, that fucking jump pass though. That one-footed jump pass he threw.
I think you're super off base with that comparison.
All
honestly.
Right, listen.
Taysom Hill is a freak athlete.
This is the fourth and sometimes incorrect podcast. Like I can.
Yeah. Taysom Hill is a freak compared to Tim Tebow.
Sure. I mean, athletically, absolutely. Yeah. As a quarterback, I feel like they're very, they're equatable. Now, granted, we're still talking about Tim Tebow, who went all the way through college, won that BCS championship, got drafted as a quarterback, versus Taysom Hill, who, went to BYU, did nothing of note that I'm aware of, and got drafted as, more or less an athlete. Or was he even drafted?
No, he went undrafted.
So he went undrafted as an athlete. So again, I'm making that comparison between one person who had like way more time to polish their shit and still kind of came out as a fudgy turd, and another guy who's finally now getting his shot and is definitely way more of a freak athlete, but I don't think is necessarily that much better as a quarterback at this juncture.
No, I 100% disagree. Tebow's garbage.
Okay.
And there's nothing you can do to convince me that Taysom Hill is even in the same league as Tim Tebow. He has a stupid throwing motion, and he's left-handed, and
he wins games.
He's 48% over his career.
Wins games.
He won.
Took him to the playoffs. Won him a game.
That was largely on the back of a defense, and you know it.
I mean, if you want to talk about Cameron Jordan and his 3 sacks yesterday, we can talk about that too.
Yeah, because
Matt Ryan was fucking eating turf. If you want to talk about the other side of the ball.
I mean, yeah, sure. Fucking, the Saints defense certainly did not do the Falcons any favors.
Right.
But
You disagree with my take. That's fine.
Yeah, I'm not putting Tebow in any classification of a NFL quarterback that we're talking about today.
Oh, I'm saying Taysom Hill has not done enough for me to convince me he's Tim Tebow yet. I'm coming at it from the opposite direction, where Taysom Hill's still got more to prove. That's my take.
Oh, sure. Fair. I don't think... consistent starter, Tim fucking Tebow. So that's just not the comparison I would go with, Right,
I would say consistent starter, Tim Tebow, Taysom Hill on an upward trajectory.
Yeah. I don't know. I think the branding's too different.
Small sample size.
Yeah. I think more of what we can expect out of Taysom Hill is more along the lines of his athleticism than being a pure passer like they wanted Tim Tebow to be. So I just think the trajectories as athletes and people are too different to compare.
I mean, yeah, and it also fully has to do with the coaching and, you know, what those particular minds have in mind for what their quarterbacks are doing. I mean, Denver at the time wanted a pure passer. I mean, New Orleans already has that in Drew Brees, and like you were saying, Sean Payton's smart enough to scheme around people. So, in theory, he may just be smart enough to scheme around, you know, Taysom Hill throwing 250 yards a game and winning. You know, again, there's a quarterback out there that we're using as a metric at this point that is still somehow winning games while throwing like 150 yards. So,
And there's one thing we can't discount, though, when it comes to the Saints, though. We cannot discount the impact of having Michael Thomas to throw to, and that's all I'll say.
100%. 100%. Michael Thomas must have just been, like, shitting himself. He's like, oh, I'm the number one option, and this guy can throw 10 yards? I got this.
Hell yeah, brother.
Because, I mean, yeah. My only thing that really has me concerned about Taysom Hill is that massive underthrow he had. Like,
yeah.
That was not a close ball.
Yeah, with as strong and as athletic as he is, that's something they can fix with mechanics if he takes to it. So we'll see what happens next week. That's really the big thing is like we both said already, the sample size is too small. I saw some things I'm really happy with. I also saw some things that are concerning. I as well as you am not convinced that he's the go-to guy yet. But the potential is definitely still there. They play the Broncos next week, so
I think that'll be another nice light test for him.
Yeah. And if anything, Taysom Hill's also getting the benefit that they're literally playing the 3 to 4 weeks that Drew Brees is out. It's literally going to be Falcons, Denver, Falcons again, then the Eagles.
Jeez.
So,
yeah. We having wings is what you're saying.
Oh yeah.
And I guess my one last point on this before we push forward is, you can basically say that Taysom Hill had a better passing game than Matt Ryan, and kind of have a hard time arguing against that. I mean, Matt Ryan threw for more than 10 more attempts, completed one more pass, and had one fewer passing yard with 2 more interceptions. Yep. Matt Ryan did not have a good game. So hey, the smartest way to use your quarterback is to his advantages, and one would argue the Saints definitely did that.
Absolutely, and it resulted in a win. Moving on to somebody that I already mentioned with a Taysom Hill comparison, we're going to talk very briefly about the Baltimore Ravens Tennessee Titans game, and that's because I brought up Baltimore earlier in the show, where when they're going through like an identity thing right now. Baltimore is at their worst whenever they are no longer the bully, as they mentioned on Get Up this morning.
When they're not playing with a lead, they're not great.
Exactly. When that team gets ahead, the Baltimore's modus operandi over the past 2 years has been get ahead, stay ahead, and keep burying them. Don't stop putting up points. Keep the foot on the gas. Lamar Jackson has regressed. The running game has not been nearly as dynamic. I think people are doing a really good job at containing Lamar Jackson and making him beat people with his arm, and he's just not able to. This is a question that I had ever since he got drafted was, yes, he's a freak athlete, but can his arm talent sustain wins if they take away that athleticism from him? And we're starting to kind of get an answer, especially with Baltimore going through their identity crisis. But I will give Baltimore the credit to driving downfield, tying up the game very late to send it into overtime. Kind of not yielding, showing a little bit of resolve, and then being stopped. They had the ball first in overtime, just straight up getting stopped. And you know what happens when you give Derrick Henry the ball in overtime.
You do. The pro tip is don't give Derrick Henry the ball in overtime.
You're gonna lose the game.
Gonna have a bad time.
So a special, super sweet, super satisfying thank you, Tennessee Titans, for ensuring that the Cleveland Browns are number 2 in the division.
I was gonna say, outside of the Steelers, you almost had the same week I did.
Fuck the Steelers.
Boy, if only they would play like real opponents outside of their division on the schedule.
It'd be nice. Not gonna happen.
The Bills.
The Bills. They do play the Bills. So, brief. Go ahead.
I have a quick question.
Sure, go for it.
Going back to your statement of Lamar is regressing. This is a very self-serving question, so sure. I'm gonna tee this one up. Is Josh Allen currently the best quarterback out of that draft?
No.
How?
Because I don't want to give you the satisfaction.
Okay. Not the guy who going into this week was leading the league in yards or anything. Leading the league in yards. I can talk into microphones.
Are you sure?
Lead.
Yeah, to answer your question, frankly, yeah. Josh Allen is currently playing better than every other quarterback in that draft class.
Okay.
Lamar Jackson still has an MVP, so...
Yeah, I mean, yeah, can't fucking take that away.
Can't take that away from him. Real quick on the Steelers. The Steelers won again against Jacksonville. Fucking surprise. The only thing that I do want to mention from this game...
Jacksonville is also a bad team.
Say what?
I said Jacksonville, also a bad team.
Right. The only thing that I want to take away from this game is Mapletron Chase Claypool now has 8 receiving touchdowns in 8 games.
In 8 games? How do you figure 8 games? Was he out for 2?
That's just the stat I was fed.
Oh, or maybe it was 8 touchdowns over the last 8 games from that game when he got 3 early on.
Yeah, that one.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, he's ridiculous. I wanted him in the draft. I mean, again, it's the terrifying thing where the Bills could legitimately have DK Metcalf, Stephon Diggs, and Chase Claypool all in the wide receiver room. But we don't.
Yep. What could have been. I think what really hurt Jacksonville is in this game is that they were starting Jake Luton at quarterback, and who the fuck is that guy?
It's the throat lozenges.
Right.
Wait, no, Luden's. They're those things from The Wolf on Wall Street.
Bricola.
Quaaluda.
So, Kansas City got their game back.
Yeah. Against the one team that took their game away.
Yep, against the one team that beat them.
I want to talk about this game because I got some opinions.
Yeah, this is really the big game outside of my game and then a couple others. That's like really kind of a big deal because to me this kind of pretty much cemented the division for Kansas City. And although Patrick Mahomes was not a star-studded Patrick Mahomes performance when it mattered. He drove down the field and pretty much stole the win from the Raiders.
I'll be honest, there were some of those passes coming out of Derek Carr that looked better than anything Mahomes... Like, Mahomes was throwing the, I'm rolling out, throwing cross-body for 10 yards things like he normally does, which we now call normal, but is still fucking ridiculous. But, yes. I mean, I gotta give it to Derek Carr. That dude was throwing some fucking dimes to people.
And he was hella efficient doing it, He only...
Keith died.
We've been talking a lot this episode. His completion percentage was great, is what I'm trying to say. Right. He was a very efficient quarterback. Had a pick in there. It was kind of ugly. But what can you do? I 100% agree. Whatever John Gruden did with Derek Carr this past offseason, for this team to make the improvements that they have, especially with some of the personnel changes they had this during the offseason, it's really I'm having fun watching the Raiders play.
Do you think Derek Carr took John Gruden to church, or do you think John Gruden took Derek Carr to hell? Where was the mesh point between the two of them?
Well, it had to be John Gruden's doing, right?
You would think.
Because John Gruden wanted Derek Carr gone last season.
Are you sure? What? Or maybe that is Derek Carr saying, "Hey, bud, let's come to God."
Yeah, let's
have a talk to Jesus moment.
Yeah, let's have him come into Jesus meeting. Derek Carr went up to John Gruden and was like, "Let me remind you who the fuck I am."
He looked at him like the Undertaker, and then have you seen that picture yet?
Which one?
Derek Carr looking at the NFL camera like the Undertaker.
I bet you it's spooky.
It's pretty good. It's like, all right, let's let the hell out.
But I mean, we've all unanimously over the past year. I mean, Derek Carr's been in the league since 2014, and especially where he was drafted, he immediately started overperforming. He was a second-round pick, I believe, late in the second round, or early in the second round rather. I don't think anybody questioned that Derek Carr was a bad quarterback. I just think he had some off years, and I don't know why John Gruden wasn't so hot on him. So, yeah, it could have been one of those things where Derek Carr, sat down in John Gruden's office during the offseason and was like, look, I need to remind you who the fuck I am because I've been to the Pro Bowl. I've been on playoff-winning teams as the starting quarterback. So I'm what you got to work with, brother, because the Raiders already paid me, son.
And Gruden's like, yeah, they paid me too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, well...
And who the fuck else are they going to put out there? Nathan Peterman?
I don't have a good Gruden impression.
Nobody does.
No.
Chucky's just Chucky.
What's it? That one guy. The one guy's got a good one, but he does everybody. Caliendo. Caliendo's got a pretty good Gruden. Screw up the face. Great for audio. Okay, where are we at? Or are we looking forward now?
I'm looking forward to tonight's game.
Tampa Bay
Gronkaneers.
I was thinking about this. So I think I saw that the over-under on this was like 4.5, or not the over-under. The spread was like 4.5.
Uh-huh.
Where are they playing? Are they playing in Tampa Bay?
They are playing in Tampa Bay.
I think Tampa's got that easy.
Yeah.
I don't think LA is that good of a team. They might hit the 48.5 point over, but I think Tom Brady's got this one.
Yeah, I think I tend to agree with that. It's hard to bet against Tom Brady. It just genuinely is in most cases.
I mean, for 2 decades, you don't bet against the Patriots.
Nope. The only thing I think the only real thing that really kind of pushes in the Rams' favor a little bit is their defense has been arguably performing slightly better.
I mean, they've still got Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey on that defense, so, they got players.
Yeah, correct. But is the offense going to be able to, there in turn, do their part if the defense is having a good game stopping that Tampa Bay offense, which we got to, kind of remind people, the only teams that have been able to stop that Tampa offense have been the Saints twice, who are arguably a really good football team, and the Bears on accident because
it was early in the season.
Because it was early in the season, and Tom Brady likes giving one away occasionally. Tom Brady just doesn't have an answer for Nick Foles. What can I say?
It was in that first few weeks where it was like, oh, maybe this Tampa Bay experiment won't work, and then it was like, whoops.
Yeah. But
JK.
Right. The only games, Tampa Bay in all of their wins have only had one game where they've scored less than 28 points. And that was against the Giants of all teams. The Giants kind of played up at the same time.
I was going to say, that sounds like Tampa Bay playing down more than anything.
Well, the reason why I say the Giants played up is because there was only a 2-point game.
Oh.
It was 25-23. So I don't know. I
also Eli was sitting in the stands like, just beat him one more time, just for me.
Yeah, that Gridiron Heights Eli.
Beat that Brady kid.
Beat that Brady kid.
Also,
But-
get to see more AB out of Tampa Bay. So,
Dude, see more AB. Hooray. Totally wanted him back in the league. Hooray.
Whatever.
So
if he
you-
signed to the Browns, you'd have taken him.
Shut up. Do you think they're going to cover?
Yeah, I think they'll cover.
Yeah, me too.
To be fair, I was wrong on my last cover bet, so... And I think that was only 2.5 points. Well, to be fair, I picked the Cardinals to beat Seattle, and I think that was 2.5 points. So I was just full on wrong on that one. I didn't know they were playing in Seattle at the time. That might have changed my opinion, but
Could have. I don't think Seattle's playing in Seattle is as much of a factor as it would normally be, but it's still a factor.
playing in Seattle, playing in Kansas City, like playing in Buffalo, are not the same advantages that they normally are.
Yeah,
So we definitely know that.
100%.
Any other news, nibbles, bits, anything?
Yeah,
Or-
man.
Okay.
So this is pretty big because it affects my division.
Okay.
So Baltimore and Pittsburgh play this Thursday. And both Mark Ingram and J.K. Dobbins tested positive for COVID.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I heard about that earlier today. Mm-hmm.
So the Ravens' backfield is now empty.
No, the Ravens' backfield is now Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, exactly. That rushing / passing identity crisis that we were just talking about just got a whole fuck ton worse for Baltimore going into, one would argue, a crucial division matchup.
Also, it's a short week.
And it's also a short week. After a tough loss and Pittsburgh kind of coasting to a win, and Pittsburgh is largely considered the most healthy team in the NFL right now.
Helps.
It helps. That second place in the division is looking pretty solid right now for the Cleveland Browns.
Don't you have one more against the Steelers later on?
We have one more against the Steelers and one more against Baltimore.
Okay.
Yeah, we are not out of the woods yet, but Baltimore taking a loss from Pittsburgh would help us out tremendously.
One would argue that you're not out of the woods, but you're into the thicket of it.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, we could.
That was a great forestry joke. Thank you.
Look. Pout about it.
I will.
Okay. One could make the argument that we could drop the entire series to both the Ravens and Pittsburgh and still win second in this division with the rest of our schedule.
Yes, but is second enough to make it into the playoffs this year?
It is, as long as teams like the Dolphins keep losing.
And the Raiders, and
Yeah. We'll
Okay.
see how it comes out in the wash. I can't help tiebreakers, okay? There's a lot of 7-3 teams in the fucking league right now.
I'm trying to think about it. So Kansas City's got their division, which means the Raiders are probably second.
Mm-hmm.
We've got our division, making Miami second.
Mm-hmm.
The Steelers currently have your division, with you at second.
Mm-hmm.
Who am I missing? The AFC South.
It's the Colts and Titans are currently tied for first with the Titans, or with the Colts having the tiebreaker.
Then you're probably okay. So the fourth team, there's not going to be a fourth team. So the three teams will come out of the North, East, and West. So I like your odds at this point. I don't think there's another NFC South team or AFC South team that's going to make a huge push at the end.
If the playoffs were to start right now, if they were to start right now, Bills, Steelers, Colts, and Chiefs would be your division leaders, and then your three wild cards would be the Titans, us, and whoever would win the tiebreaker between Miami and the Raiders.
Which
And
I don't think there's a tiebreaker.
I don't think they've played, so it'd have to be strength of schedule.
Although they will play at some point.
They will play, yeah. But as of right now,
as of right
it'd be
now,
strength of schedule. Really, the AFC South is kind of the wild card, depending on what the Titans and Colts decide to do
Well, hopefully for your sake, they beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah, hopefully they just keep beating the shit out of each other, and everybody else in that division decides to catch a little bit of fire.
There's a small chance that if the Bills host a home playoff game, we could get the Browns, and I could be living in Buffalo at that point, so we'll go tailgate.
Hey, tailgate an empty stadium.
Don't act like the Bills fans wouldn't do that.
Oh, no, it would be the craziest Bills Mafia gathering of all time. It would be like to this day, there's people that, well, I don't think they do it anymore, but there used to be when they built First Energy Stadium in Cleveland, people would still tailgate the old Cleveland Municipal Stadium. Just 'cause.
Oh, wow. Jesus. Yeah, no, the Bills have been at the same stadium forever.
Yeah.
So
y'all need to renovate.
Yeah.
Shitter's full.
That's a regular discussion around there, is whether or not the county's going to help pay for a new stadium.
Gotcha.
We got any other nudes?
Nope, I'm out.
Okay. Well then we'll do this quick and tidy this time. This has been the Fourth and Wrong podcast for November the 23rd, 2020. Thanks for listening. Say goodbye, Keith.
Goodbye, Keith.
I'm watching the picture happen. They were not nice. Oh, Crimetry, oh, Crimetry.
It was funny because I was lying on the couch when it happened, and like lying like horizontally. Mm-hmm. So I just like popped up and went like, and this was like obviously I worked Saturday, so I was like tired as fuck watching football on the couch while Jenny was reading her book with my laptop on the coffee table, and I just like popped up and I was like, Christmas tree, and then like laid back down, and she was just like, what?
Yeah, you wouldn't understand.
Yeah, you don't get it.
The Browns are winning this season. I don't even understand. Save it for the podcast.
I don't know. Start the podcast.
I don't know how that's going to look at the end.